does it ever wake you in the middle of the night? The feeling that they might try and make another Dark Phoenix sequel, or one just like it? It does indeed. What do you do when you wake up to that? I feel a great swell of pity for the executive who pitched that idea and comes to this house looking for trouble. Why do you come here, Charles? Why do you ask questions to which you already know the answers? So much great philosophical dialogue in these movies. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Home Media Reviews. This review is our super special multi-film extravaganza that we do every season here on Home Media Reviews, and this time around we're covering the X-Men trilogy. X-Men, X2, and X-Men The Last Stand. I refuse to say that stupid tagline, X2, X-Men United. No, it's literally just X2. You could have just called it X-Men 2, that would have been simpler. So strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because this one's going to be a long one, more than likely. You know me, I like to talk, especially when I cover multiple films, and when these films have multiple, and I mean it, multiple releases in the same box set. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the history section of the X-Men trilogy. So, just gonna relay some ground rules here. We will start off by talking about when each of these films were put out into theaters, and then the first time that they were released by themselves out on the physical marketplace. I'm not covering each time that X-Men was reprinted just by itself after its initial release date. We'll just be covering when these three films were boxed together in one set. Except in X-Men's case, there is kind of an important thing that I should probably mention with that one, so that one actually gets two singular releases covered here. The original X-Men hit theaters on July 14th, 2000. This always baffles me whenever I read this, but X-Men and Thomas and the Magic Railroad came out in the same year. In the same month, even. I don't know why, that's so weird to me that a comic book film came out the same year and month as a Thomas the Tank Engine movie. I don't know, that's just... it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. I had just turned 1 when this movie hit theaters, so obviously I did not see this in theaters. I had zero interest in it at all. Didn't even know who the X-Men were. I didn't really get into X-Men in the film franchise until around 2013. That's when I really started getting into the whole films as a whole. I got introduced to it through comic book films, and X-Men was one of the first ones that I first bought on DVD. I bought it along with X-Men The Last Stand from Target, I remember specifically, because I think I already had a copy of the second one at home in my basement that my parents had purchased. It was on DVD as well, so I owned these films for many years on DVD, unfortunately. X-Men then hit VHS and DVD on November 21st, 2000. Also weird to think that the first X-Men film has a VHS release, even though I've seen it at virtually every single flea market and pawn shop I go to. You always find an X-Men VHS. It's just standard. The DVD is clearly not as common as the VHS. And now we come to the sort of important X-Men film release. We move to X-Men 1.5, which was released on February 11th, 2003. Now, you see X-Men 1.5, my mind immediately jumps to Spider-Man 2.1, which was a director's cut of Spider-Man 2 with about 10 to 15 minutes of footage added back in to create an extended cut. I first saw this X-Men 1.5 DVD cut at Half Price Books and got it on clearance back in like 2016 or 17, and I thought this was a second cut of X-Men. This is not a new cut, not in any way, shape, or form. This just includes different and more bonus content from the first DVD release. As a matter of fact, a lot of these bonus features are repurposed for the X-Men Blu-ray release later on in 2009. We don't cover this in the close-up. My copy's in my basement in a box somewhere. I didn't feel like going to go get it, so I wanted to mention it here that X-Men 1.5 is not a new cut of X-Men. It is just a DVD version with more bonus content, which if you own the Blu-ray from 2009, you don't even need this version. But that's not the only thing that happened in 2003. X2 hit theaters on May 2nd, 2003. I was 3 years old when this movie hit theaters. I did not get to see it. Once again, I didn't have any interest whatsoever in the X-Men as comic book characters. I was 3 years old, so I had no interest in any comic book characters at that time. Actually, when I was a bit older and Spider-Man 3 was coming out, I had a couple of Spider-Man toys. I think I had some 3 3/4 inch Spider-Man and Sandman figures that my parents had got me, but I was never really into the whole superhero thing as a child. Surprising, I know, considering how huge of a role they play in my life nowadays, but I wasn't a big superhero fan growing up. X2 then hit DVD on November 25th, 2003. No VHS. We were starting to phase out VHS at this point. I think Fox saw that the market was dying, so they skipped a VHS for X2. We did get a full screen and a widescreen version of this DVD. Unfortunately, we're in the era of full screen and widescreen DVDs. Then 3 years after X2 hit theaters on May 26th, 2006, we got X-Men The Last Stand hitting theaters. I didn't see this movie in theaters either. I should just have prefaced that earlier. I saw none of these in theaters because I didn't care about X-Men at that point in time. The Last Stand would then hit DVD on October 3rd, 2006. We got a full screen and a widescreen version of this DVD. Standard for the time, unfortunately. 2006 was kind of the point where widescreen was becoming the norm. VHS was totally gone at this point, so there was no chance of getting this a movie on VHS. I wouldn't want to watch this movie on VHS. I don't want to watch this movie, period. There was a collector's edition DVD set that had some cool packaging to it. It had Wolverine's claw on the front of it, so that's neat. I see that at a lot of discount movie retailers. There was a Target exclusive DVD version that also had different packaging. I don't know if it was a widescreen exclusive or a full screen one, or if the packaging's any better or anything like that. It probably looks fine. Here's something interesting though. Walmart and Circuit City both had exclusive bonus discs that you could get from them. Circuit City's came in like a little CD, like cardboard sleeve. Walmart's came in a full-sized DVD case, and this one I actually have. I found it at Goodwill for $1. But it wouldn't be Fox if we didn't also get a DVD trilogy set that came out on this day. So if you didn't already have X-Men and X2, you could get them with X-Men The Last Stand in one conclusive set. The very first time these films were included together in one conclusive set on DVD. But that's not it for X-Men The Last Stand, because we have its standard Blu-ray coming out on November 14th, 2006. Why did it take Fox a couple weeks to get the Blu-ray ready to ship out? I don't know. That was a weird choice, but X-Men The Last Stand on Blu-ray. Speaking of Blu-ray, on April 21st, 2009 was the first time you could buy the first X-Men film and X2 on Blu-ray, as they were included in a Blu-ray box set with X-Men 3. The very first time these were available on Blu-ray and in one conclusive set. This was a historic moment for X-Men. And there was a Best Buy exclusive version, but the artwork is different. Ooh, that's worthy of an exclusive. If you haven't noticed, Fox loves to reprint their movies a hell of a lot. If you didn't notice that with Star Wars and Die Hard, Fox loves to just reprint their movies. Or at least they did before they got bought out by Disney and died. Because now we're getting into the era of just X-Men Trilogy reprints. So, the X-Men Trilogy Blu-ray set with a digital copy of each of the films came out on July 9th, 2013. Each film included a third disc where you could unlock a digital copy. Ain't that great? Another way for you to get the films if you didn't already own them from 4 years prior. But wait, if you missed out on that set, on December 3rd, 2013, we got the X-Men and the Wolverine Collection Blu-ray. This included the original X-Men trilogy, X-Men First Class, and the 2 Wolverine films. Because again, if you missed out on the X-Men, Fox wants to make sure that you can get them at any point in time. Then, on May 6, 2014, we got the X-Men Experience. This was a Blu-ray and a standard DVD release. Again, including all the films that had just been released like 6 months prior. Why? Why was this needed? This, one of the most pointless releases out there. Honestly, you could scrap this, because on October 14th, 2014, we got another X-Men collection. But this one's cool. It's the Cerebro collection. It came in like a cool helmet replica of the Cerebro helmet that Charles Xavier wears. It's cool. Did we need it? No, because we just had the X-Men Experience. Fox, you wonder why you were in such financial trouble when you got bought out by Disney? It's because you kept releasing so many damn copies of these movies that people didn't want. But in 2015, nothing. We got nothing. Surprising, right? However, Fox comes back with a vengeance. We've got the X-Men Trilogy Blu-ray set on October 19th, 2016. Another pointless trilogy repack. I'm struggling to say things about these releases because there's just nothing to them. They're just straight repacks of the Blu-ray discs that we've seen already from 2009. And I don't even think they repacked the bonus discs. They didn't get the 4K set. On November 1st, 2016, we got the X-Men Collection Blu-ray set. This included all 6 films, excluding the Wolverine titles. So you get the first 3 X-Men films, and then the Decades trilogy of First Class, Future Past, and Apocalypse. You don't get the Wolverine films. This set was also reprinted in January of 2017 with the exact same artwork. There was no reason for this to be reprinted. Nobody wanted it. But then, ladies and gentlemen, something amazing happened. Fox actually put out new versions of these movies, on a brand new format even. The 4K trilogy set of the X-Men trilogy came out on September 25th, 2018. And they reused the artwork from the 2016 release. Now this artwork, it's fine. It's okay. It's not great, though. I would have liked to have seen some freshly commissioned artwork, maybe some that doesn't feature the bad version of the Dark Phoenix right on the front cover. That would be nice. And this set was reasonably priced at $30, so you bet your ass I went out there and bought this the first week it came out. Then on April 30th, 2019, we got the X-Men Trilogy Volume 1 set, which just included the first 3 X-Men films. Volume 2 included the other trilogy, the prequel trilogy of First Class, Future Past, and Apocalypse. You had to get both volumes to complete your set, even though you probably already owned these movies at least 3 times at this point. There was a steelbook version. I think it was exclusive to Best Buy. Honestly, I saw it more at Walmart. I don't really know who it was exclusive to, or if it even was exclusive. It's got cool silhouette artwork on it, but we didn't need it. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the end. There was a Disney Movie Club exclusive Blu-ray trilogy set that was released on March 23rd, 2021, and it includes the same artwork as on the 4K trilogy set, as well as the 2016 trilogy set. Why Disney felt the need to reprint these Blu-rays without the 4K and make it a Disney Movie Club exclusive is beyond me. That makes absolutely 0 sense. But whoo! Finally! We're done! That's the end. Well, not the end of the review, silly. We haven't even got to the review yet. That's the end of the history section. Now let's move right along to the very long close-up section. Alrighty, everyone. Here's your close-up look at the X-Men Trilogy, or X-Men 3-film collection. You may be wondering, hey man, I thought you owned this trilogy on DVD. Well, I still do. they're just in my basement and in a box somewhere. I've moved a lot of my old DVDs down to my basement just to save space and clear space up in my own room here for other stuff and more important stuff like the 4K trilogy of X-Men. So they're in my basement. I still have them. I just don't want to show them here on the show because I have to go look for them. I didn't label the box. I don't know. I haven't been down there in months. So we're just going to look at the 4K and Blu-ray versions of the X-Men trilogy. Plus, I didn't want to add 3 extra menu tours onto this HMR because this one's already long enough. So we've got 4K Ultra HD up at the top, 4K plus Blu-ray plus digital there, standard for all 4K Blu-rays. X-Men 3-film collection, this should really be called the X-Men trilogy. Logan there on the front, surrounded by Jean as Dark Phoenix, Professor X, Storm, and Cyclops. I like this front artwork here. It's really nice. You got like part of the X in the background with Nightcrawler there on the top. There's the Blackbird, X-Men, X2, X-Men United, X-Men The Last Stand, and Ultra HD Premium down there on the bottom. Like I said, really nice promotional art here. The side, 20th Century Fox, Portrait of Logan, once again, X-Men 3-film collection, list of films again, Ultra HD Blu-ray on the bottom. The back features Magneto, Mystique, Lady Deathstrike, Angel, and Rogue. You got a little explanation about Ultra HD Blu-ray up there at the top. There's your barcode. There's a breakdown of your discs. This is a 6-disc set because you get the films on both 4K and Blu-ray, so you've got a breakdown of what each disc contains and each film's rating. All of the films are rated PG-13, so I don't know why they needed 3 separate brackets for each of the films. They could have just said all 3 PG-13, whatever though. Take this out of the, honestly, a little bit of a higher quality cardboard slipcover there. The artwork is the same for the standard Blu-ray sized case. The spine's the same. The back is pretty much the same, except you got rid of the pictures there to make room for the cast and crew information and all that. And if we open this up, your discs have really bland artwork. I'm just going to say that right now. At least the 4K ones do. So this is the 4K of X-Men, 4K of X2, and then the 4K of X-Men The Last Stand. The Blu-rays are just repacks of older Blu-rays that were released for all 3 of these films. So they include artwork. So X-Men on Blu-ray, that's why it says disc 1 on the side, because this was originally included in the standard X-Men Blu-ray, and I think that came with like a bonus disc or something. And then X2, X-Men United, also labeled disc 1, and then X-Men 3 has different artwork than everything else. So I think the biggest positive for this entire set is the fact that it comes in one Blu-ray case. I have multiple films on Blu-ray. You guys know this. You watch my collection videos every year. And I have come to appreciate the smaller sized cases for just how little room they take up. If you remember when I covered Days of Future Past last year, I talked about this 3-pack of X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse all on 4K. Those came in 3 separate cases, so it takes up more room on the shelf. This is just one concise little set that takes up just one slot on your Blu-ray shelf. So that's something that I never thought I'd say I appreciated, but I appreciate it here. So it's going to be a long menu tour. We've got 6 of them to go through, so my apologies there, but let's go ahead and transition over to that. Alrighty folks, here we are for our menu tours of the X-Men trilogy, starting off with X-Men number 1 on Blu-ray. Pretty cool menu, actually. This isn't stock standard like a lot of modern day menus are. This actually has some design to it. You've got your options down here at the bottom and sort of an X pattern. Clips from the movie playing in the background with this whole weird DNA style CGI that's covering it like in the beginning of most of the X-Men films. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. So for scenes, we transition here. No, well actually we do have titles for them. They're down here actually. But we've got titles and numbers, so that's pretty cool. 40 scenes, and if you don't count the credits, then 39. That's still a lot of scenes for a movie that is about an hour 46 minutes long. That's pretty good. So for setup, I imagine we're going to have some various audio options. We have a English 5.1 mix, that's a DTS mix, and then a 5.1 Dolby Digital mix, a French 5.1 and a Spanish 5.1 mix, Portuguese 5.1 mix, and a commentary by Bryan Singer and Brian Peck. We've also got the D-Box motion code. For subtitles, we have none. Portuguese, Mandarin, Korean, Cantonese, Spanish, and English. So that's a lot of subtitles, actually, for a film of this caliber. For special features, we have another menu here to select the commentary by Bryan Singer and Brian Peck, enhanced viewing mode, deleted scenes and extended scenes, a Fox special, The Mutant Watch, Bryan Singer interview, animatics, art gallery, TV spots, music promo, and Marvel Universe trailers. A lot of special features on here, actually. A lot of trailers for this movie, but it is cool that we get some featurettes. Alright, let's move on to X2, X-Men United, the Blu-ray disc. And we have a very similar menu as on the first X-Men disc. I think we're in Cerebro here in this menu, and we've got clips from the movie playing in the background here. Same little menu as on the first X-Men Blu-ray, so that's cool that that's back. Let's take a look at scene selection. I imagine we'll have more than on the first X-Men Blu-ray because this film is about 2.5 hours. Oh no, we have the same amount, 39 or 40 scenes if you count the credits, so that's interesting. For setup, we have DTS 5.1 mix for English, another English mix, but that's a Dolby Digital one, French 5.1, Spanish 5.1, Portuguese 5.1, commentary with Bryan Singer and Tom Seigel, commentary by Lauren Schuler Donner, Ralph Winter, Michael Daugherty, Dan Harris, and David Hayter. A lot of words in there that I could not say. And then D-Box motion code is back as well. Subtitles, we have Portuguese, Mandarin, Korean, Cantonese, Spanish, and English for the deaf or hard of hearing. And for special features, our commentaries are included in this menu, and Marvel Universe trailers are here as well. No other featurettes on this disc. And our final film in the X-Men trilogy on Blu-ray is X-Men: The Last Stand. This menu is of course different from the first two films because it doesn't have the little X thing here. It's got a more CGI-esque menu with clips of the film playing, though. That's a staple in menus nowadays. Always got to have clips. For scenes, we have 24 of them. Convenient. I can just select it from up here. Boom, just like that. 24 scenes. So we kind of cut our scene number in half. Still though, 24 scenes for a hour-and-a-half movie. That's a pretty good amount. Languages, we have an English 6.1 mix. Ooh, that's different. French 5.1, Spanish 5.1, director and writer commentary by Brett Ratner, Zach Penn, and Simon Kinberg, and then producer commentary by Avi Arad, Lauren Schuler Donner, and Ralph Winter. For subtitles, we have Spanish and English. That's it. So we lose all of our previous languages, like Portuguese and such, and all of our previous subtitles. So just English and Spanish on this Blu-ray. For features, we have a trivia track that will play during the film, deleted scenes, trailers, and commentaries. So more bonus features than are included on X2, but about the same amount as on the first X-Men film. Alright, welcome to the 4K menus here on the X-Men Trilogy. HMR, good to see you back again. We are here for the X-Men 4K disc menu tour. Different from the first film's Blu-ray menu, but it is a bit cooler. Well, I lied actually. This isn't as cool as I thought it was. This is like, the bottom of this is like the side of the X, but it's like zoomed in on the camera. It's hard to explain, but picture the X laying down flat and the camera is like right here. So it's kind of unique, but at the same time it looks like every stock standard menu that's out nowadays. So for setup and audio, we have a DTS HD English mix, Spanish 5.1 mix, French 5.1 mix, Castellano 5.1 mix, a Dutch 5.1 mix, and Italian 5.1 mix, Sestina Surround 2.0 mix, Polish Surround 2.0 mix, commentary by Bryan Singer and Brian Peck. That's it though. No Dolby Atmos, which is kind of saddening. I don't know why that's not listed here. Well, I know why it's not listed here. It's because it's not on the disc. For subtitles, English for the deaf and hard of hearing, Spanish, French, Castellano, Danks, Netherlands, Swami, Dutch, Italian, Norse, Savinskia, Chinese or Japanese, Sestinia, Chinese or Japanese, Polish, commentary by director Bryan Singer and Brian Peck. Can you read the commentary? That's interesting. Commentary in French, commentary in Spanish, commentary in Danks, commentary in Netherlands. You can just read all the commentaries in all the languages that are offered on this disc. That's actually pretty cool. For scenes, I imagine we'll have the same number of scenes as on the Blu-ray, and I think that is correct. Yep, 40 scenes. And then for extras, all we have is the commentary by Bryan Singer and Brian Peck, but that's more extras than we get on other 4K discs. So, Fox, I'm glad that you put that on here. X2, X-Men United 4K disc. Same setup as the first movie on 4K. Same thing, even with a little X down here at the bottom. Clips from the movie playing in the background in glorious 4K. For audio, that 5.1 English mix is back again. Spanish, French, Castellano, Deutsch, Italiano, Sestinia, Polish. Commentary by Bryan Singer and Tom Seigel. Commentary by Lauren Schuler-Donner, Ralph Winter, Michael Daugherty, Dan Harris, and David Hayter. Less audio options than on the first film, but a substantial amount nonetheless. Subtitles, I'm not going to read all these to you. If you really care, you can pause the video and look and see the subtitles because there are a lot of them here. You also can read the commentary in English and a bunch of other languages. Look at all that. Oh, also you can read the commentary by the producers. That's not in other languages though. For scenes, let's see if we have 40 scenes like on the Blu-ray. I'm going to bet yes to that one. Yep, 40 scenes. Pretty awesome. And I lied to you. This movie's not 2.5 hours long. It's 2 hours, 13 minutes. I don't know where I got that impression that it was 2.5 hours long, but there it is. For extras, we have commentary by Bryan Singer and Tom Seigel, and a commentary by the producers. So, like I said on the 4K of the first film, thank you, Fox, for putting the commentaries on the 4K disc. It's more bonus content than a lot of other 4Ks will give us. And for our sixth and final menu tour, can you tell I'm slowly going crazy as I'm talking about these here? X-Men The Last Stand on 4K. For setup and for audio, we have that 6.1 mix for English coming back from the Blu-ray. No Dolby Atmos though. English Dolby Digital 5.1, English Descriptive 5.1, Spanish, French, Castellano, Deutsch, Italiano, Sestina, Polish, director and writer commentary by Brett Ratner, Simon Kinberg, and Zach Penn. Producer commentary by Avia Rod, Lauren Schuler-Donner, and Ralph Winter. Like I said, still no Dolby Atmos for any of these films, which sucks, but that is... well, I'm not going to say that's okay, because it's not. I don't like it. Subtitles, once again, a whole hell of a lot of them. I'm not reading them to you because there's too many of them, so you can pause the video if you are interested. And you can also read the commentary from the directors and writers in a whole bunch of different languages here. So many languages. Also, producer commentary, you can read that, but not in other languages. The producers are not as important as the director and the writers. For scenes, let's see if we have the same number as on the Blu-ray. Yep. Pretty sure they just took the chapter files from the Blu-ray and just transported them over to the 4K. For extras, we have the commentary once again from the director and writers, and commentary from the producers. So once again, no featurettes or anything on the 4K disc, just the commentaries, but it's better than nothing. My head hurts from repeating the same information to you about 6 times now. So we're going to go ahead and head on back and answer the 5 main questions as always, so I can give you some new information. Alright, so we're back from the close-up. Now it's time to answer the 5 main questions as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? Well, if you're a Disney Movie Club member, you could get it through there. Although I'm not sure if they still offer it. I'm not a Disney Movie Club member or subscriber myself, so I don't know if it's still offered through there. The 4K set's no longer on store shelves. That's definitely not being printed, so I don't know. If you can't get it through Disney Movie Club, look through online retailers probably. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? No, it's not. Number 3, should you pick this product up? This home media review is long enough, so I'm going to try to condense my thoughts down on each of these films. To begin with the first X-Men film, it is very simplistic in how its story is set up. The story basically is Magneto wants to turn a bunch of world leaders into mutants. He has a thing that does that, but he needs Rogue to accomplish his goal, and he takes forever to finally get Rogue. That's the story of the first X-Men. It's good. I enjoy it on a very simplistic level. I like the performances in it. I think pretty much everybody is dead on as their character, especially Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You guys know how much I love him as that character. It was great to see him in like the prepubescent Wolverine stages. Like, he looks so different compared to how he looks today, Hugh Jackman does, and I don't know, it's always fun to just go back and see, like, look at baby Hugh Jackman, like, look at how he looked, man. He's, like, not jacked up, for lack of a better word. Like, he's relatively normal sized in terms of muscular stature, so it's pretty cool to see him in this movie, and give a damn good performance, too. But man, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, those two are like comic book characters come to life, man. Charles Xavier is literally the comic book version of him. And I haven't read a ton of X-Men comics. I never really got into them that much. They were a little bit too preachy for me. But the Charles that I have read on those pages is Patrick Stewart. He is amazing here. And same with Ian McKellen. That man embodies the character of Magneto. Just the way he speaks, it's so threatening. Even when he's not meaning to be threatening, it's still kind of like, ooh, I got chills when he said that. We're the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter. You let them pass that law and they'll have you in chains with a number burned into your forehead. Then kill me and find out. You must be Wolverine. My, that fine metal doesn't run through your entire body, does it? You? Oh, my dear boy. Whoever said I wanted you? I love McKellen here. He's great as Magneto, and I wish we could get to see more of him, but unfortunately, I think he's too old to play this role nowadays. But holy crap, man, he was such perfect casting. James Marsden as Cyclops. He's good. The script doesn't do him any favors. There's not much character for Cyclops here, so there's not much for Marsden to do with. I think he takes on too much flack for the character of Cyclops when it's really the writers who should be blamed for it, because they didn't give Cyclops a lot to do or a lot for Marsden to work with. So what do you expect him to do except give a flat wooden performance? Famke Janssen I like as Jean Grey. I don't think Jean Grey should be that important to the X-Men franchise, mainly because of the fact that they botched the Dark Phoenix saga in X-Men The Last Stand. Now we have to talk about Halle Berry. Oh man, that accent's terrible. I'm glad that she got rid of it in the subsequent sequels, but holy crap, that accent was so bad. So do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else. Like, what kind of a line is that? Hey, speaking of Toad, Ray Park's in this movie. He's really good as Toad. Great physical performance there. I also like Sabretooth. He's an interesting character. I'm sad we don't get to see more of him. And I really enjoy the conflict that is presented to us here by Senator Kelly. Who's really to say what could stop a mutant from walking into a bank vault who can just walk through walls? He's talking about Kitty Pryde there, but who's going to stop her? I'm not saying that I agree with Kelly or his registration act. I think people should be able to choose what they want to do with their life without fear of government intervention. But at the same time, it's a legitimate question to ask. Like, not all mutants are good. Not all mutants are Charles Xavier. Not all mutants are raised in his school. Some are Magneto. Some join the Brotherhood of Mutants. Who do you stand with, the humans or us? That's from X-Men 3, but I just really like that line. So I think it presents some really interesting ideas. It doesn't really follow up on them, though, unfortunately. I love Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Mystique, and I love they changed that stupid thing with her in the comics where she had to wear a white dress, but she could transform through the white dress. No, it makes much more sense that she'd be walking around when she's naked. That way she can change into anybody. And I like how she walks around like that because she's proud of who she is. She's mutant and proud, as First Class will tell us later on. There's also not a lot of action in this comic book film, surprisingly. It's very slow to actually start out with. It really takes its time in introducing us to its characters and its world, and I really like that about this film. When the action does happen, though, it's good. It's competently shot. It's not all that exciting. I do like the Liberty Island scene where Logan has to save Rogue from Magneto's big mutant generator thing. That's a cool action scene. I can't really think of a lot of others, though. I guess there's one on the subway, kind of. There's not a lot of fights in this movie. That's the thing I'm getting stuck on here. Like, there's action, but there's not a lot of characters punching each other. Do you get what I mean? Speaking of Rogue, Anna Paquin is here playing Rogue, and she's nothing like her comic book counterpart. I don't really care, though. I mean, you had to change her to be able to modernize this story, so I think Anna Paquin does a good job with what the writers give her to do. Shawn Ashmore is pretty good as Iceman. I mean, there's really not a bad performance here. The action's pretty solid when it actually happens, and I like the themes that this movie presents. In a way, this movie is a time capsule. It shows us what comic book films are eventually going to evolve into, but yet not all the comic book tropes are there. Like, this is definitely an early 2000s movie, and it's definitely an early 2000s comic book movie, but it's very important in the grand scheme of comic book movies because it showed Fox that these types of films are actually viable. And that's what led to the creation of the Spider-Man franchise and the rest of these X-Men sequels, and eventually what led to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Without this first X-Men film, and also Blade from 1998, we wouldn't be in the middle of this huge comic book movie renaissance that we're in right now. So yes, I recommend that you see the first X-Men film. It's very slow. It's not a film where you're going to get action, action, action. You're really going to sit down and study most of the characters and really get to know them and be able to see this world in which these characters exist. And I appreciate it for that. And now we move on to X2, the movie that takes everything that's in the first X-Men film and gives it steroid injections, because X2 is way more action-packed, but it does suffer a bit in the character department. I love the character stuff for Wolverine. I love how it focuses on him and his past at Alkali Lake with Stryker and the Weapon X program and all that jazz. That's great stuff. I love how the movie also goes into the dynamic between William Stryker's son, who's also a very powerful telepathic, and Charles Xavier. I mean, being able to show a mutant that can control Professor X, that's some serious stuff right there. I also really love the character of William Stryker, played by Brian Cox. I think he's wonderfully maniacal. But at the same time, he's very calm and controlled about his evil. He doesn't flip out unless it's absolutely necessary to his character. The scene that really showed me that is when he walks into the fake Cerebro and whispers in his son's ear, "I want you to find them, Jason. Find them. All the mutants. Every last one of them. This is where it ends. Make me proud. Like, he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, he's not angry, but he's also not like, do, gonna go kill all the mutants, woohoo, I'm so happy. He's very reverent and controlled. I don't know, there's just a really nice subtlety to Brian Cox's performance that I just love about William Stryker. He's calm and collected, but he'll kill you in an instant if he needs to. Storm is also way better in this movie. I love that they completely just dropped the accent. It's gone. I love that. Never, ever bring that back, Halle Berry. Please don't ever bring that back. That was a bad accent. I'm glad that you dropped it here, and you're a better character for it, and a better performance for it. Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler was really awesome, too. That vanishing effect that they were able to pull off for Nightcrawler looks amazing. The makeup is, wow, astounding. His makeup and Mystique's makeup, if they didn't win Oscars, they should have, because they look photo-real, honestly. They look amazing. And I love Alan Cumming. He's great in this film. He really makes you sympathize with his character's struggle. Where the movie struggles, though, is the kids. And by kids, I mean Rogue, Iceman, and Pyro. They're okay. Their storyline just isn't as fleshed out as I would have wanted it to be. Pyro going with Magneto and his gang at the end of the film seems like it comes out of nowhere. There was no natural build-up to that. It's like he was shown to be kind of a bad boy throughout the film, but I don't know. I just couldn't see that character making that choice to betray everything that he had ever known. And to hear him talk about the professor and his time at the school in X-Men The Last Stand, it's almost like they completely rewrote this character halfway through filming. And then Rogue and Iceman are pretty much non-characters in this movie. They're just kind of there to serve a purpose at the end. Rogue is there to fly the jet at the end of the film, which, okay, that works, but her and Iceman, they don't really have an arc or anything like that. And then Jean Grey and Scott. I feel nothing for that relationship. I'm sorry, Famke Janssen. I'm sorry, James Marsden. I'm sure you guys did everything you could to make that relationship seem like it was real. You didn't convince me. You didn't fool me. It's bad. It's badly written. It's badly performed. It's wooden, stilted, and it needed to be reworked. And because of how bad that relationship is, I don't care that Jean dies at the end of this movie. I don't know why Jean is suddenly so important to everyone. And I don't know when Logan fell in love with her. I mean, what? They shared maybe a couple of glances in the first film, and Logan flirted with her a little bit, but I never got the sense that they were in love with each other. How did that happen? Where did that come from? And why does Jean sacrifice herself at the end of this movie? Is it just because she can become the Phoenix in the next movie? Is that the reason? Because that's a bullshit reason if that's the reason why she died. If anything, I think it would have made more sense if Rogue had sacrificed herself, because she was our point of view character in the first film, and to actually give her an arc of, oh, I'm scared of using my powers to help the X-Men. She could have used her powers in some way to get them all out of the way of the water and sacrificed herself instead of Jean Grey. That would have made for a better emotional climax to that story. The action is 100% upgraded in X2. It's a wonderfully shot action film. The villains are so much better, and Brian Cox and even Ian McKellen steps up his performance as Magneto as well. I love him in this film, and I love how his blatant switcheroo, man. Even when you think he's doing good, he's always got a little evil up his sleeve. That's Magneto for you. He orders Charles to kill all the humans except for mutants. I was like, oh man, dude, he was helping the X-Men, but nope, he's got to turn on him. As far as the second film goes, it's technically a better directed film, but it fails on a lot of character beats, and Jean Grey's death just is so misplaced. in this movie. It feels like the director was just trying to get it to where, ooh, I want to do the Phoenix Saga really badly, so we're going to kill Jean so she can be the Phoenix in the next movie because the Phoenix Saga is great, and that's like the only X-Men storyline that apparently Fox knows about. Newsflash, guys, the Phoenix Saga wasn't that great to begin with. I mean, it was fine, it had some cool cosmic stuff that happened in it, but it wasn't perfect. So I would still recommend that you see X2, X-Men United, even though that's a stupid tagline. But I like the movie a lot. It's an entertaining ride. I would probably sit down and watch this one over the first one, though, because it's got more action, it's got a better villain, better writing for the most part in terms of dialogue and character. But I hate that Jean Grey ending. I wouldn't even go so far as to say hate. I just don't like it very much, and I think it could have been done better. But for the movie that we got, it's good. But man, the ending with the president in his office, now that's a way to end the movie. That's a great scene. We're here to stay, Master President. The next move is yours. I'll be watching. And so will I be watching all the way to X-Men The Last Stand, the worst X-Men film in this original trilogy. This film is not very good. This film suffers from a lot of different things. The director of the first two films, who I won't even say his name because of the horrible things that he's been accused of, was replaced with another guy who is also pretty not good, was also removed from a lot of projects and, quote, canceled because of his impromptu and very inappropriate behavior with women, so his name will not be mentioned either. The film shifted directors, the production was turned upside down, everything about the third X-Men film was pretty much compromised, and you can tell this is a movie that was made by committee. We have two plots here. We have Jean coming back from the dead as the Phoenix, and we have the Cure. These plots do not mix. They don't work together because if you want the Phoenix to be this ultimate power that she is in the comics and that you seem to set her up as movie, if you want her to be the ultimate power in the universe, you would have your X-Men characters focus 100% on getting her back when she escapes. But the movie doesn't do that. Instead, it focuses on the Cure, because apparently that's more important than a cosmic Phoenix force that destroyed an entire galaxy in the comics. Although this Phoenix here is the neutered Phoenix, because, one, it doesn't come from space, it's inside of Jean's body, which is not where the Phoenix came from in the comic book series, and two, she really can just do a couple of things. She can stare intently, make things move with her mind in a violent motion, and turn you to dust. Thanos, I'm sure, is a really big fan of this version of the Phoenix, and I'm sure everybody and their grandmother has made that joke already. Now, I'll give Famke Janssen this. She has a very intimidating stare. I wouldn't want to mess with her. She looks like she could kick me 5 ways to Sunday. I wouldn't want to mess with that. But the problem is the character is so bad and so poorly written in this movie, and it's inconsistent with the way that the Phoenix is supposed to be built up in this movie to be. If she's so all-powerful that she could end everything in an instant in the snap of her fingers, perhaps, why doesn't she do it? Why does she sit around and wait for the X-Men to come find her at her house? Or why does she sit around and wait for Magneto and then attack the mutagen facility with him? Why? And then the Cure subplot is neglected because of the Phoenix subplot, and these two things just don't mix together. So what you're left with is two halves of two separate movies, because this movie barely reaches 90 minutes, so you're stuck thinking, well, I don't feel connected to anybody. All this is a bunch of action. But here's where X-Men 3 actually kind of redeems itself. The action sequences are some of the best in the franchise. I know. Unpopular opinion. I love the fight scene in Jean Grey's house. It doesn't make a lot of sense, though, because Magneto literally says to Juggernaut, no one gets inside. And then Juggernaut proceeds to throw Wolverine inside of the house, even though Magneto told him, don't let anybody in. Also, Juggernaut's not a mutant. He is a magic wielder. That was bullshit. That shouldn't have been changed. Although I do like Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut, so give and take. I love the action sequence at the Jean Grey household. I really like the climax action sequence with all the mutants going after the X-Men. That's a really fun scene. I wish I cared about anybody in it, but it's an entertaining action scene to watch. And despite my criticisms of how these plots don't meld together, I actually found myself following the Cure plot pretty closely. I think that that's a very interesting storyline. I think that that could have been explored more. Really, I think that should have been X-Men 3 and just cut the Phoenix Saga entirely, except in my version, Jean Grey would still be alive and Rogue would be dead. And I absolutely love Kelsey Grammer as Beast. This is another instance of perfect casting. Kelsey Grammer as Beast, beautiful. Please, Fox or Marvel or whoever's making the new X-Men film, because we all know it's coming, bring back Kelsey Grammer as Beast. He is perfect in this role. And his makeup, once again, Oscar-worthy. Wonderful makeup. He looks amazing. He gives a really great physical performance, too. When he's fighting in the climax, he looks great running around on all fours. He doesn't look stupid like some actors do when they do the dog run. James McAvoy. And I can't dog on my boy Hugh Jackman or Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen too much because they all give great performances here as well. I do like that this movie had the balls to kill Charles, though. I just kind of wish that, Charles would have stayed dead instead of coming back during the end credits. That would have been nice if he would have, stayed dead. I didn't care that they killed Scott. I mean, I didn't care much for James Marsden. I hate that he went out like a bitch. But that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. That sucks. I'm glad that he got brought back in Days of Future Past, but I don't know. I just didn't care. I didn't care about her and Jean. I didn't care about Jean and Logan. I didn't care about Jean. I don't know when Jean became so important. Was it because she died? Probably, but I never cared about her. Then they try to force a subplot with Rogue and Iceman. Rogue is apparently upset that Iceman's getting so close with Kitty Pryde. I don't care. I haven't cared about them or that relationship since the first film, when they were actually written well, and the character of Rogue was actually likable. I didn't care about this relationship. Therefore, I didn't care that she got the cure at the end, because I guess that makes sense. She can't touch people. She wants to touch people. Fine, whatever. Go ahead, get the cure. I don't care. X-Men 3 is just the definition of a mixed bag. Like, there's a lot here that's okay, but there's also a lot here that's bad. But I feel like you have to see this movie. Because of the first two, you have to see this movie if you want the conclusion to the trilogy. If you don't want that, skip it. You're fine. But if you do want that, you should definitely see it. And I think that you should still watch X-Men 3, even if you don't want the conclusion to the trilogy. You should at least watch it for the performances. Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, Kelsey Grammer, they're all great in this movie. So, despite me not liking the plot, or plots, plural, in this movie, and thinking that the Phoenix Saga was botched entirely in this film, I'm still going to recommend that you see X-Men The Last Stand, because the performances and the fun action sequences, I think, push this movie over the line of a weak recommend. I think you should see it, especially if you want the conclusion to the trilogy. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that the Phoenix is supposed to be this huge, large fighting force, and Wolverine kills her with one stab to the side. That doesn't make any sense. Now, before I move on, as far as the 4K transfers go, the first X-Men film has the best 4K transfer. It looks great, it's crisp, it's nice. You can see all of the details on the faces and such. It's a bit of a soft focus 4K, but it looks really good. The other two, they don't look like they're 4K crisp. They look like they're Blu-ray quality that were upscaled to 4K. They don't look like they were given the full 4K restoration treatment. And I don't even think the first film got the full restoration treatment. I think that film could look better too. But it looks the best out of this lot. All in all, these 4K transfers, not really the best. I think if you stick with your Blu-rays, that's fine. If you have the Blu-rays, you're covered. Or you could watch them streaming in 4K on Disney Plus, because they stream on 4K on Disney Plus, so that's cool. Do you guys think we'd ever live in a world where the X-Men films were available on a Disney streaming service? It's weird the world we live in today. So number 4, where should you pick these products up? Same answers as number 1, eBay, or if you can find them in a store or on Disney Movie Club, or stream them on Disney Plus. And number 5, what price should you pay? For any of the box sets, shoot man, 10, 15 bucks. You can pretty much find these films in a plethora of box sets for less than 10. I've seen tons of the Blu-ray set out there on the secondary market, and people aren't charging a lot for those. So if you get the Blu-ray set for 10, that'd be great. The 4K set, I'd say, is probably around 15, 20. But honestly, you don't really need that set. You just need the Blu-ray set to be able to be happy. And the 4K set doesn't even reprint the Blu-ray bonus discs from when they were put out on Blu-ray in 2009. That's why they have the disc 1 on X-Men and X2. Yeah, because there was a second disc included in there, Fox, and you didn't give it to us. You gave us just the films. No bonus content. No nothing. So, guys, that is my very long review of the X-Men trilogy. I didn't expect to talk that long about these movies, but I can't help myself sometimes. These are very important films in the grand scheme of comic book movies, and I think that if you are a comic book movie fan, you should watch them to see where comic book movies were back in the early 2000s, and be grateful they're not like that today. But if nothing else, be grateful for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because it gave us the fantastic film known as Logan. So I'm sure you're all wondering, what is it that we're going to be covering next week? Well, we're on kind of a Disney Fox train here, so let's take a hard right to Disneyville, and let's cover an animated film from 1977. This film, I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It's called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I am a Winnie the Pooh fan from way back in my childhood. I watched Winnie the Pooh a lot when I was a kid, along with Thomas and a couple of other popular kids shows, Bob the Builder, Kipper, and all that. But I feel that the original Winnie the Pooh movie is kind of underrated in the grand scheme of things. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. I hear a lot of people are fans of Winnie the Pooh, but I don't hear them talk about this movie a lot. So because I want to talk about it, we're going to talk about it next week. And I've got some questions from you guys regarding the season finale. There will be a video uploaded to the channel next Thursday talking about how you can enter your movie and to be picked to be covered on Home Media Reviews. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go to bed now because I'm very tired. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, good night, everybody.